I know. I know. The last thing we need is another person on the internet spewing their views about movies, especially this movie. But, god damn it, I just saw Barbie and I want to talk about it. So, that's what we're gonna do. Before we get into it, just a couple of disclaimers. First, there will be spoilers for the movie. I know I'm pretty late to the party, but still, just in case you haven't seen it, there's the warning. Second, any opinions that I have on the film are obviously subjective. Other people will obviously have a lot of different takeaways from this film, but like I said, it's just my opinion, so do with that as you will. But that aside, let's talk about Barbie. Barbie is a roller coaster that has you having the time of your life at one moment and then questioning what it means to exist in the next. Stereotypical Barbie, played by Margot Robbie, and their story is so tragically beautiful, basically around what it means to be a woman and that it's okay to just be a woman and to tell all of society's expectations to get lost, and that she doesn't need to be any one thing or to cater to anyone else. And the final blow of that comes at the end of the movie when she opts to be a human, imperfections and all. She wants to be her own person from now on, take initiative, not just be an idea, be the thinker, as she says in the film. The issues brought up about femininity and womanhood and societal expectations are at the forefront throughout the entire movie, so that even though, obviously I can't relate personally, I can almost relate by proxy, if you know what I mean, mostly through taking stories about these things that I've heard from my female friends and being able to put them into a new context on the big screen like this. It just shows it all in a whole new light. I wouldn't be able to talk about the Barbie movie without talking about Ken as well. Specifically, Ryan Gosling's Ken. There's a lot of Kens in the film. If you've seen it, you know. Because I'm a little late to this, I have seen some of the discourse online around the character. Mainly people interpreting him in different ways or taking different messages away from his character, which I can understand. Ken Gosling embodies a lot of the worst traits of toxic masculinity, which leads to, basically, depending on how you've experienced these traits, either being toxically masculine or having someone act in this way towards you, the way that you relate becomes slightly different. Ken openly shows the need and almost desperation for affection and affirmation that so many men, while they won't admit it ever, they crave. Because he's constantly fighting among all the other Kens, he doesn't necessarily have his own support circle, he's alone, he tries to figure out his own solutions, which leads to his actions throughout the film. This all leads to the attachment that a lot of people feel towards Ken's character, especially after he comes to terms with being Kenuff, by just being Ken, by just being himself, which is something that a lot of men in the audience will relate to. On the other hand, while he ends the film in a better place, his actions throughout are a bit extreme, but also just so frustratingly close to real life. As I mentioned, the Kens are always fighting amongst each other, trying to one-up each other, especially in front of the Barbies, which pretty blatantly mirrors the way that men will do the same thing in real life with very obvious intentions to any outsider. The guitar scene in particular made me worry just a little bit because I do play the guitar, and so I had to run through my memories to see if I'd ever played the guitar at someone, which I don't think I have, but I can't be 100% certain, I will be honest. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I think Barbie should have apologized to Ken at the end of the film. In fact, I don't think she should have. After everything he did, taking her house, brainwashing the Barbies, rigging an election, trying to change the Constitution, he never really apologizes to her. At least not in a way that was memorable to me. Which, again, is just annoyingly close to how situations like that would probably go in real life. So all in all, I left the cinema, more or less understanding Ken's motivations, but not necessarily liking the dude. There are also some parts in the film that I find frustrating, but more in a way that because it's mirroring real life, I'm frustrated at the way that things work in real life, therefore frustrated at the movie, if you understand what I'm talking about. The most obvious one, and the most contentious one that I've seen online, is how the Kens get treated at the end of the movie. So after the Barbies have retaken control and instated themselves back, they do give the Kens a bit of power, like a little bit more. But as the narrator says, one day the Kens will have about as much influence in Barbie Land as women do in the real world, which is, you know, taking a stab at the way that equality in the world, it's not necessarily fully equal, to put it lightly. What makes it slightly frustrating is that over the course of the second half of the film, where Ken kind of takes over almost as like a retribution for the way that he's been treated in Barbie Land, we can see from that the whole do unto others as has been done to you mentality is probably not the best way to go. So it becomes frustrating that the society isn't equal at the end instead of an idealized society. But it's mainly frustrating because, yeah, that's how it is in real life. If events like this happened, just flipped, we'd probably end up with the same result, which is annoying and frustrating, and why isn't it different? The other part that leads to frustration is how they go about the vote, because, you know, a vote is supposed to be the voice of majority, in theory. There's a whole other political statement there that we won't get into. But throughout the film, Kens are going to rewrite the Constitution, and the Kens and the Kens alone are going to vote to make that change official, which obviously isn't a fair election because the Barbies have been brainwashed and also can't vote. So the solution to this in the movie is A, unbrainwash the Barbies, fair enough, but also to kind of manipulate the Kens into fighting a war with each other so that they forget to go and vote, and then while they're off fighting, the Barbies go and vote to keep the Constitution. Which, it's kind of just the same issue on the different extreme. Like, it's still not a fair election. The Kens didn't get to vote at all. And actually, if we assume that there's an equal number of Kens and Barbies, more or less, and they all voted as expected, then the Barbies would still probably win because they do have Alan on their side, and he would tip the scales because he's, you know, neither Barbie nor Ken, he's just Alan. So yeah, they probably still would have won if it was left to a fair vote if they just left it at brainwashing the Barbies. But all of that aside, it's still mirroring the real world, where there are cases where parties or members of parties will incite unfairness in the vote. It's been done before, and it's mainly just frustrating because, god damn it, it happens in real life. Overall, I loved this movie. It takes some serious issues and puts it and presents it with the front of being a goddamn Barbie movie, which is genius, honestly. Like, people go to see it thinking they're just gonna go see Have a Fun Time Barbie movie, and they will come out questioning their worldviews. Which honestly is how a lot of serious issues get brought into the limelight. People are more willing to accept, or they more easily accept, serious topics when they are addressed through comedy or lightheartedness as opposed to anything else. The cast was incredible. Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling played their characters to a T. And while I didn't speak about it much, Michael Cera's Alan was also a gem. The dude has got some moves in like 2 ways, like both in the dance floor and as a fighter. And in general, just the rest of the cast played the movie really, really well. The music was amazing. I'm Just Ken and What Was I Made For are both incredible standouts among that soundtrack, which have both been added to my Spotify playlist. And as we've seen already, this movie sparks a bit of debate, which is good because now these issues are getting talked about a lot more openly. But that's pretty much all I've got to say about Barbie. Again, if you didn't agree with anything that I said, remember my opinions are subjective, but that also means they're subject to change. So if I missed anything or I misunderstood anything, let me know. I want to hear your opinion too. I am thinking of starting this as a proper series. You know, I'll go out, see a movie, then vent about my thoughts on it, and then post that every week or so. I'll see how this video goes. But make sure you hit the like button if you like this video, leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel. They all help us out a lot. You can also subscribe to our Patreon by going to the link in the description below, where you get access to a bunch of extra content, and executive producer level patrons get their names put right here at the end of our videos and in our credits of our films. But thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!